The 2025 NFL Draft is rapidly approaching, and it's finally time to dive into the upcoming prospects. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2025 NFL Draft. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribing takes just a second, and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Number 10, Riley Leonard, Notre Dame. The national championship runner-up is here first. Leonard played at Duke for 3 years before transferring to Notre Dame for his final year. Leonard has really solid size, standing at 6'4" and 216 pounds, and he uses that to his advantage, especially as a rusher. Leonard could actually be quite the dual threat. In his final season, he ran for 982 yards and 17 touchdowns, while forcing 42 missed tackles. Notre Dame love to run QB keepers, especially in short yardage situations. As a passer, Leonard is solid, but he isn't anything special. His mobility helps him in a lot of situations, especially with his somewhat inconsistent pocket presence. I thought his accuracy was decent, but balls did get away from him at times, and his arm isn't insane, but it's good enough. The thing about Leonard though is that he didn't throw deep that much. Just 43 out of his 405 pass attempts traveled beyond 20 yards. His average depth of target on the season was just 7.5. He has shown that he has the ability to throw the deep ball, but he didn't do it consistently enough to make me feel good about it. He was also 80th in big time throw percentage at just 4.1. I can't not mention the 2.0 turnover worthy play percentage, which is good, but when you rarely throw deep, that tends to happen. I think Leonard projects as a solid backup with decent upside as a rusher / RPO threat. I wouldn't mind taking him in the late 5th or 6th round. Number 9, Quinn Ewers, Texas. I'm sure I'm gonna get flack for this one, but I just don't see it with Ewers. Not yet anyway. Now, don't get me wrong, his arm talent is enough to get drafted before the 6th round. He has the ability to make every throw in the book. He's got a great arm and a quick release. His upside as a pure passer is really high, but basically everything else is not it. His pocket presence is his biggest weakness in my opinion. It's wildly inconsistent and sometimes even downright bad. I saw multiple plays where he stepped up right into pressure and took a sack. He was top 10 in sacks taken among college QBs, taking 33 of them. That's not good, but it's really not good when you look at Ewers' other weakness, ball security. He fumbled the ball 10 times and committed 21 turnover-worthy plays. That was 5th out of all QBs. He also doesn't bring much as a rusher, as he had just 90 yards. Look, I totally understand drafting Ewers off the traits alone, but unless he figures out basically everything else and is able to do it on a consistent level, he isn't going to be anything more than a backup. Number 8, Dillon Gabriel, Oregon. The only lefty in my top 10, we've reached Dillon Gabriel, and I'm gonna be totally honest, when I was watching Dillon Gabriel, all I can think of is, yep, this is Diet Tua Tagovailoa. Everything from the smaller stature, the lefty, the lack of arm strength, the good accuracy, it's all there. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, if I'm comparing Dillon Gabriel to Tua, why is Gabriel so low? Well, 1, it's not like Tua is an elite quarterback or anything, and 2, Tua is Gabriel's upside. He's still got to prove he can even get to that level. Gabriel's lack of arm strength does limit his overall upside for sure. However, I do still think he throws a nice deep ball. As long as it's not more than like 50 to 60 yards, Gabriel will hit his receivers in stride more often than not. He actually had the highest adjusted completion percentage out of all quarterbacks at 81.9%. He also had just 8 turnover-worthy plays, a 1.6 turnover-worthy play percentage. There is a lot to like about Gabriel, but again, I do think his upside is limited with his lack of size and arm strength. In the right system, with the right players around him, I think he could be really good, but he needs that good system. I honestly wouldn't mind if the Dolphins take him in the 4th round or something. Considering Tua has major injury concerns, Gabriel will be able to step in and run that system very effectively. Gabriel's lack of upside keeps him at number 8, but I still think he could be a starter at some point in the NFL. Number 7, Kyle McCord, Syracuse. There are 2 words to describe Kyle McCord: accurate and aggressive. He really knows where to put the ball at times. Whether it's ahead, behind, or on a back shoulder, he can place the ball anywhere it needs to be placed. He also loves taking chances. He led the Power 5 in both big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays, having 36 and 24 respectively. He is a true gunslinger. Sometimes it works really well, other times it doesn't. He sometimes makes these awesome throws that lead to big plays, and other times it's like, dude, why the hell did you throw that? Unfortunately for McCord, his eyes can sometimes be bigger than his arm. One of the cons that PFF has listed on their mock draft website is Baker Mayfield mentality without a Baker Mayfield arm, and I think that's a pretty accurate statement. McCord doesn't have quite the arm talent to make every throw that he wants to make. His arm is still pretty solid, but I think he sometimes forgets that he doesn't have a Josh Allen level arm. If McCord can understand that he can't make every single throw in the book, just most of them, I actually think that he can be a really solid quarterback in the NFL. But with his arm, he can't just go in and sling it wildly. That's that's how you become Jameis Winston, but he's definitely worth taking a chance on in the late 3rd to 4th round. Number 6, Jalen Milroe, Alabama. The second Milroe gets drafted, he will immediately be one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league. He truly makes some spectacular plays on the ground, but while his rushing ability is amazing, his passing ability is less so. He has some really great plays through the air, but other times it's really bad. Milroe is incredibly polarizing as a prospect in that way. He still needs to learn how to play the position from a mental standpoint. Physically, it's all there, and everyone knows it. His upside is incredibly high, but his pocket presence isn't very good. His processing could use some work, and he needs to take better care of the football. He fumbled 11 times in his final year. That specific aspect is going to be hard to improve though, as he has very small hands, under 9 inches. That is a real concern, especially with someone who likes to run as much as he does. His accuracy isn't the worst thing in the world, but it isn't great, especially over the middle, and like pretty much everything else about his passing game, it's inconsistent. The upside with Milroe is very tempting, but he still has a lot to figure out. He's just not ready to play in the NFL on day one. If he can go to a place where he can sit and develop for a few years, then he could potentially learn to actually play quarterback, but we'll just have to wait and see. Number 5, Will Howard, Ohio State. This might be surprising to a lot of people, as I know many have Will Howard around the 6 to 8 range, but I really liked what I saw from Howard, and he might just be the most underrated quarterback in this draft class, other than maybe Tyler Shough, who we'll get to. I mean, for starters, Howard won the national championship. Winning isn't everything when it comes to evaluating prospects, but it means something. Howard has championship experience. He played well in the playoffs, proving he can step up in big moments. He's also a really big guy. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. That's a positive. He can also make basically every throw in the book. He's got a really solid arm, and his accuracy, especially deep, I thought was pretty good. It's not perfect. He needs to work on throwing over the middle, but that can be fixed. We saw this last year with Jayden Daniels. Howard isn't the fastest guy, but his size helps him be a decent RPO or QB keeper guy in short yardage situations. He had 16 rushing touchdowns over his final 2 seasons. I do think Howard needs to work on the situational aspect of the game, as 35% of his throws on 3rd and long were short of the sticks. But that is something that I think can be coached into him. I think Howard does need some work, but I do think that he has the potential to be an NFL starter, especially considering how he really did step up in the playoffs. I wouldn't mind a team taking him late day 2 or early day 3. I might be higher on Howard than most, but I really do think he's a solid prospect. Number 4, Tyler Shough. Look, Tyler Shough may have been in college for 7 years and is already 25 years old, but man, can this dude play football. He checks pretty much every box when it comes to, hey, can you play quarterback at a high level? For starters, he's 6'5" and 225 pounds, but he can still move pretty well relative to that size. He doesn't run a lot, but he can improvise outside of the pocket. He's got really good accuracy, and he knows how to take care of the football. He had just a 1.6 turnover worthy play percentage in his final year. His ability to read a defense is arguably the best in this class. He rarely makes bad reads, and that's one of the reasons why he has that really low turnover worthy play percentage. I mean, the guy can just play. I do have one big criticism of his game, however, and that's that sometimes he likes to try to throw these deep passes off his back foot, and that leads to some bad interceptions or inaccuracies. That's something I would like to see him remove from his game, but overall, I think he's a really solid football player. But there's the off-field stuff, more specifically how much he's off the field. Shough has been in college for 7 seasons, and 2024 was the first full year he ever played. The guy just can't stay healthy. He suffered 2 broken collarbones in 2021 and 2022, and a broken fibula in 2023. He's also 25 years old, and he'll be 26 before the end of September. We've seen guys play into their late 30s, but realistically, Shough only has 6 to 7 seasons of prime football, unless he does some Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady stuff. I think it's obvious that Shough can play, but he may not get taken until late day 3 because of the injury concerns. Personally, I'd be fine with taking him on day 2, especially considering the fact that he did pass the medical exam at the combine. If he can stay healthy, I do think that Shough can be a really solid NFL quarterback. Number 3, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. There's a lot to like about Jackson Dart. He is one of, if not the most accurate quarterback in this draft. He can put the ball anywhere at any time. He has some truly special throws, especially down the field. The deep ball, I think, is his speciality. He had 1,517 yards while throwing the ball 20 or more yards down the field, the most among all quarterbacks. He also had an 11.9 average depth of target, the 3rd highest in the NCAA. Despite this, he still managed to complete nearly 70% of his passes and had 30 big-time throws to 11 turnover turnover-worthy plays. Dart doesn't have the biggest arm, but for what he likes to do, it's usually good enough. And combined with his accuracy, he's a dangerous deep ball thrower. He doesn't just throw deep though, he was efficient in the short and intermediate game as well. He also has some good mobility as he ran for 648 yards. Dart isn't perfect, his pocket presence is inconsistent, but there are flashes of good in there. He does sometimes tend to get a little over aggressive and force passes into windows that aren't there, which leads to some ugly plays. But overall, I think Dart is a good prospect with both a good floor and high upside. I don't think he's quite a first round guy, but I'd definitely take him in the early to mid second round. It would be ideal if he can go somewhere where he doesn't have to start right away, but even if he does, I think he can develop into a really good quarterback. Number 2, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado. I think you all saw this coming from a mile away. QB1 and QB2 have been pretty set in stone for a while now. I think Shedeur is a pretty good prospect, but he does have his weaknesses. He takes a lot of sacks, some of them really bad. He took 41 sacks in 2024, tied for the most among all quarterbacks. I think he sometimes thinks he's more athletic than he actually is. Despite being Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur isn't that fast. He's not slow, but sometimes he tries to escape pressure when he really should just check it down or throw it away. That to me is his biggest weakness, and he's going to have to figure that out because in the NFL, pressure gets in quick no matter what offensive line you're playing behind. His arm strength also isn't anything special. It's good, but not great. However, he does have a lot of good things about him. His accuracy is his biggest strength, especially off platform. He can make some truly amazing throws on the move or when his feet aren't set. He completed 73.4% of his passes, and his adjusted completion percentage of 81.8% was second in the NCAA. And when he is able to escape pressure, it's really good. Despite all the bad sacks, he does have some plays where he escapes pressure and makes a really good throw. He just needs to learn to do it more consistently instead of trying to do too much. He's also really good at taking care of the football, as he had a mere 1.3 turnover-worthy play percentage. He rarely put the ball in harm's way. If he can learn to stop trying to do too much under pressure, I think he can be a really good QB. Is he really worth a top 5 pick? In most drafts, probably not, but he will go top 5 due to the amount of quarterback needy teams up there. In any normal draft, I will probably take him mid to late first round, but whichever team ends up with him will probably be pretty happy. Number 1, Cam Ward, Miami. To me, the gap between Shedeur and Cam Ward isn't super close. Ward is a true first round prospect that is worthy of going top 5, and in this draft class, number 1 overall. Is he as good of a prospect as Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, or Andrew Luck? No, but he's still damn good. Immediately, I have to talk about his pocket presence. Both under pressure and not under pressure, Ward is really good at navigating the pocket, and when he is flushed out of the pocket, he can improvise and make some really good plays. He isn't the fastest guy, but he is a rushing threat. He had 7.6 yards per carry in 2024. He can make throws at all 3 levels accurately and has pretty good arm strength. He really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses other than the fact that he can be over aggressive at times. He had 18 turnover-worthy plays in 2024 and 21 in both 2023 and 22. He will probably throw double-digit interceptions, at least early on, unless he somehow manages to tone down his aggression quickly. He also does need to work on ball security. He fumbled 18 times in the past 2 years. Overall though, I think Cam Ward is a really good prospect and has the potential to be a true franchise quarterback for whoever drafts him. But that's it. Those are my top 10 quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Comment below your top 10 quarterbacks. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. See ya!